All right, today we're going to be solving and writing addition and subtraction problems. So here is your vocabulary. So you are going to write inverse operations. They're operations that undo another operation. For example, addition and subtraction are inverse operations, and multiplication and division are inverse operations. All right, so we're going to talk about two different types of property of equalities. The first one is addition property of equality. It's not that hard. It's just when you add the same number to both sides of the equality. Meaning that if I add, let me change the color. All right, so if I add 10 to the left side of this equal sign and I add 10 to the right side, I will still have the same amount, okay? So this is the property of addition property of equality, right? Okay, so then I would get 22 equals x. And if I substitute that in, 22 minus 10 is 12, right? Another thing is if I had 5 equals 5, they're equal, right? So if I add 10 to the left side, I can add 10 to the right side, and I would still, both of my sides of my equation would be equal. And that's all it means. If you're adding the same side to the left side of the equal sign and the right side of the equal sign, as long as it's the same amount, your equation will still be equal. So let's look at the next property. Okay, the next one is the subtraction property of equality. Go ahead and write this down. When you subtract the same number to both sides of the equation, your equation will still be true. Okay, so if I subtract 5 to the left side and 5 to the right side, my equation will still be true. So I have, if I started with, let's say, 2 equals 2, right? And then I subtract 1 on both sides, right? I get 1 equals 1, right? So my equation is still true. So let's go ahead and look at our different examples. So first we're going to find the variable, then we're going to decide what's happening to the variable, and then we're going to use the inverse operation to undo it. And we're going to tell what property we used when we do that, okay? So let's go ahead and look at this. So the variable in this instance is on the right. So I see that it's adding 3, or we can think of this as a positive 3. So to undo it, we're going to subtract 3 to the right side, and then I'm going to subtract 3 to the left, okay? So this we call is a zero pair. 3 minus 3 is 0, so that goes away. I could put a 0 here, but it's unnecessary, right? Because x plus 0 is just is x. So I'm going to go ahead and write everything the same. So I have equals x, but then it's plus 0 on this side, so I'm going to not write anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and vertically add. It says 8 minus 3, and that is 5. So my solution that I think it is x equals 5. To check my solution, I rewrite my equation, and then I'm going to substitute in the 5 for x to see if I'm right. So I'm going to rewrite everything the same, except for where that x is, I'm going to put the 5. Like that. So what is 5 plus 3? Well, that's 8, and 8 equals 8, so that is true. So that means that we got that right. So my solution is not 8, but it's x equals 5. So this is my solution. And the property that I used is right here. It's what I did to both sides of the equation. So I subtracted. So it's a subtraction property of equality. Okay, let's look at example 2. So I notice that the variable's on the left this time. I see that I'm subtracting 1, or I can think of it as a negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to the left side of the equation. I'm going to write this like long, I call it an equal sign, right? And that line. And then I'm going to add 1 to the right side of the equal sign. So this is my 0 pair, so that crosses off. So then I have on the left side, I'm going to bring down, it's just C plus 0, but I'm not going to write that, which equals, and then I have 8 plus 1, which is 9. So let's go ahead and check. So I have C minus 1 equals 8. I'm going to substitute in the 9 for C. And then I'm going to rewrite everything else. And then 9 minus 1 is 8. So I have 8 equals 8. So my solution is C equals 9. So I'm gonna just box it there. And the property I used is right here. It's what I did to it. So I added. So it's addition, and I'm going to shorthand it. Property of equality. All right, let's go on to question 3. It says Ruben and Tariq have 245.5 minutes of music. Ruben has 132 minutes. How many does Tariq have? Write and solve an addition equation to find how many minutes belong to Tariq. We need to define our variable and then go ahead and write our algebraic equation. All right, so what is the unknown? It says the question is how many does Tariq have? So my unknown is how many minutes, right? Tariq has. So I'm going to say T equals the amount of minutes Tariq has. Now, they have a total, both of them, minutes of 245 minutes, right? We know Ruben has 132. So we're trying to write an addition equation. So I have Tariq's minutes plus I have Ruben's minutes is going to give me the total minutes, right? So we don't know the amount of that Tariq has. So we have T is our unknown, which we said, but we do know what Ruben's is. What is Ruben's amount? Well, Ruben has 132, so plus 132. And we do know the total amount of minutes, which is 245 and 5/10 minutes. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we are going to solve the equation. So go ahead and use a property of equality to solve this equation. You should have subtracted 132 on both sides of the equation. I noticed that this one does not have a decimal after it, but this one does. So I'm going to go ahead and write 0.0, and then I can subtract. So go ahead and figure out how many minutes Tariq has. So Tariq should have 113 and a half minutes, or 113 minutes and 30 seconds of music. Okay, so when you subtracted the 132 on both sides, this gives you a 0, so T plus 0, but you don't need to write that because T plus 0 is just T, right? And then when you subtracted 132, you should have gotten 113 and a half minutes. Go ahead and do example 4 on your own and answer the questions. All right, so you should have gotten x equals 4 and 6/10. When you substituted it in, you should have gotten that the check to 8.2. So that means that your solution is 4.6. And the property that was used right here, you subtracted on both sides of the equation. Okay, I'm going to have you do all of these. These are all you tries. So make sure that you're using the property of equality when solving. All right, so you should have 5.5 added to both sides, so you should have gotten C equals 9. You should have subtracted and used the subtraction property of equality and gotten K equals 310. You should have subtracted 6 on both sides and gotten X equals 6. All right, you should have added 1.2 to both sides and gotten your solution as 14 and 2/10. You should have added 5 to both sides and gotten 8.5. All right, so you should have subtracted a fifth on both sides. When you subtract a fifth from 4/5, you get 3/5. So you should have gotten 1 3/5. All right, so this one you should have added, since there was subtracting 4/5, you should have added 4/5 to both sides. No, that you should have gotten 1 7/5, which is okay. However, this is this is an improper fraction. So I changed the 7/5 to 5/5, right? Because 5/5 over 5/5 is the whole. And 5/5 plus 2 more fifths is 7/5. So right here is my 7/5. But then I know 5/5 is 1 whole and plus 1 is 2. So I have 2 2/5 is your answer. All right, for this one, use digits 1 through 9 at most one time each to create where x has a positive value and where x has a negative value. Go ahead and give it a try if you'd like to. See if you can figure out what you can do with this one. Make sure you've taken all your notes and then get started on your checking for your understanding. Good luck.